There is a moment when silence stops feeling peaceful and starts feeling personal. You pray, and nothing changes. You ask for help, and nothing answers. You reach toward God from the most exhausted place in your heart, and instead of comfort, you meet stillness. And the mind does what the mind does when it's afraid. It explains the silence in the most painful way possible. God has left me. God is ignoring me. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I'm being punished. But here's the truth we have to look at clearly. Silence does not automatically mean abandonment. Silence becomes abandonment when the wounded mind becomes the translator. Because when you're tired, scared, and emotionally worn down, silence doesn't feel neutral. It feels like rejection. It feels like distance. It feels like reaching for a hand in the dark and grabbing onto nothing. Sometimes what feels like absence is actually the collapse of the false image you were using to understand presence. Let's be honest. When you're suffering, silence hurts. It's easy to talk about faith when life is stable. It's easy to talk about surrender when your body is calm, your bills are paid, your relationship feels safe, and your mind isn't spinning at midnight. But when you're really in it, silence can feel brutal. You're not asking for luxury. You're not asking for applause. Sometimes, all you want is one sign that God still sees you. One inner warmth. One confirmation. One moment of relief. When that doesn't come, the mind starts building a case. If God loved me, I would feel him. If God cared, this would be changing. If God were near, I wouldn't feel so alone. That's the wound underneath the wound. Not just pain. Pain plus the belief that you have been left alone inside it. And that belief is what makes the silence unbearable. But the feeling of abandonment is not always the fact of abandonment. Sometimes, it's the old wound rising up inside the divine. The mind often creates a version of God that behaves like a human authority figure, like a distant parent, a disappointed judge, a king on a throne deciding whether you have earned help or not. So when silence appears, the mind does not simply say, "I don't know what this means." It says, "God must be upset with me. God must not care. He must be testing me. He must have turned away." But what if that interpretation is not God? What if it's your fear wearing the mask of theology? Many people are not only struggling with God's silence, they're struggling with the image of God their mind created inside the silence. If people ignored you when you needed them, silence may feel like abandonment. If love had to be earned, silence may feel like failure. If authority was harsh, silence may feel like punishment. So the mind takes divine mystery and filters it through human pain. Then it calls that conclusion truth. But it's not the truth. It's a wound speaking in spiritual language. God beyond the mind cannot be reduced to the mind's trauma-based image of God. Sometimes the false image has to break before real faith can breathe. The mind wants God to appear as something it can detect. A feeling, a sign, a wave of comfort. And yes, sometimes grace does move that way. Sometimes the sign comes, or the door opens. Sometimes peace arrives suddenly, and you know you're being held by God. But God is not limited to what the mind can notice. God is not merely an experience inside awareness. God is the ground in which awareness appears. That means God can be present even when no special feeling is present. God can be near even when your emotions feel empty. God can be moving even when your mind cannot measure movement. The mind says, if I can't feel God, God must be absent. But the soul begins to learn, maybe God is deeper than the feeling I expected. This is difficult because the mind wants God to become an object it can point to. But God beyond the mind is not always an object. Sometimes God is the unseen ground holding you, while every object falls away. What the Gnostics called the monad points toward this deeper reality. It's not a concept to worship. It's not a replacement for devotion, but a way of pointing toward undivided source. The one before thought divides reality into separate pieces. The silent fullness beneath all appearances. From the level of the mind, silence feels empty. But from the level of the monad, silence isn't empty at all. It's undivided. It has not yet become answer, sign, or emotional comfort. It is fullness before form, and this is where the mind struggles. The mind wants form. The mind wants God to arrive in a way it can recognize. But the monad points to a presence that does not depend on appearance, a unity that is not broken because your emotions are tired, a divine reality that remains whole, even when your thoughts are fragmented. So when silence comes, the question becomes, will you let the wounded mind define silence as abandonment? Or will you allow silence to reveal where your faith was still dependent on constant proof? This is not about pretending pain feels good. It is about refusing to confuse the absence of emotional certainty with the absence of God. The mind would rather believe it has been abandoned than admit it does not know what silence means. Because abandonment is painful, but at least it's an answer. At least now the silence has a story. At least now there is someone to blame. At least now the mind does not have to stand naked before mystery. But mystery is where the mind loses control. And the mind hates losing control. So it turns silence into a verdict. God left. God failed me. God doesn't care. But look carefully. Is that revelation? Or is that fear trying to escape not knowing? The loneliness may be real. The exhaustion may be real. The ache in your chest may be real, but the conclusion your mind adds isn't. A feeling can be honest without being ultimate. You may feel alone without being alone. You may feel lost while still being guided. You may feel nothing while something sacred is happening beneath conscious perception. Don't build your understanding of God from your most exhausted hour. Don't let fear write scripture inside your chest. Name the pain. Honor the feeling, but don't crown the wound as truth. In real life, this looks simple. It looks like praying honestly instead of performing spiritually. God, I don't understand this. I feel abandoned. I'm tired. That may be more real than forcing beautiful words you don't even mean. It looks like letting silence be silence before calling it rejection. It looks like not making permanent conclusions about God from temporary exhaustion. It looks like placing your hand on your chest and reminding your body this silence is uncomfortable, but it doesn't automatically mean danger. It looks like asking yourself, what am I assuming this silence means? Then asking, do I absolutely know what is true? Because often, you're not reacting to silence itself. You're reacting to the story your mind created about the silence. The practice is not to fake peace. The practice is to stop letting fear be the only interpreter. Faith here is not dramatic. It's one breath. One honest prayer. One refusal to turn pain into proof. One quiet decision to stay open, even while you don't understand. So, if God feels silent right now, don't rush to condemn yourself. Don't assume your faith is broken. And don't assume you've been abandoned. Look closer. The mind may be turning silence into abandonment because uncertainty feels unsafe. It may be projecting old wounds onto divine mystery. It may be trying to protect you from the vulnerability of not knowing. But God beyond the mind is not gone just because the mind cannot feel Him. The monad is not absent because the emotional body is tired. The one is not broken because your thoughts are loud. Sometimes silence is not the proof that God has left. Sometimes silence is the space where your false image of God stops working. And that can feel like loss before it feels like freedom. But stay with it. Not by forcing certainty, not by pretending you're fine, but by refusing to let fear have the final word. Because silence is not always abandonment. Sometimes silence is the place where false certainty dies, and real recognition begins. If this journey spoke to you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone learning how to trust God beyond the noise of the mind. Comment below. Silence is not abandonment. I read every comment. If you would like to support my work directly, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/MagnumOpus333. Or you can explore some original merchandise at my Teespring store online. The link is in the description below. Remember, your consciousness is the key that unlocks reality. Let's keep unlocking it together. Thank you for watching. Until next time.